earlier today, there is going to be some retracement and liquidity going to Bitcoin, which will also get to altcoins and some other assets. All right. So for those of you that read my post today, you can see that a lot of things happened between Friday to today, specifically on Friday after the news, all right, which led to the massive crash in the market. So you can see that a lot of things are taking place right now. The market is retracing. Bitcoin is already at 113,000. Even though I stated earlier that it will get to possibly 118 this week and probably exceed that amount. All right. So on Friday, a lot of persons were liquidated, especially leverage traders, not really spot traders. That same Friday, I actually traded. We entered a short on a particular coin and we made some profit before the market started dumping massively. All right. So before I quickly discuss what I want to discuss today, let me quickly invite some persons to this live. All right. Let me quickly invite some persons to this live. You can also drop your message or your question on the chat box if you have any question. All right. So give me some seconds. Let me invite some persons to this chat. All right. So the market, while I invite, I will still be saying what I'm saying. So you can see that the market is actually retracing, and there is volatility, which is a kind of upwards. All right, you can see that the last candle is actually bullish in 4 hours time frame, which is also a good sign that yes, there is some liquidity going into the market after some persons sold off on weekends on Friday because of panic and some persons were liquidated. There is also a momentum. The market is getting some momentum. Bitcoin currently at 113,600 right now, means that the market is gaining some momentum and there are liquidity going into the market once again. Okay, so I always talk about risk management. Now, before I proceed with this live, I want to talk about risk management. You know, when I drop signals in my group, I always lay emphasis on risk management. The reason many people were liquidated on Friday was because they didn't apply risk management. Even though the liquidation was too much and the crash was too much, but if risk management were applied, or maybe you made use of stop loss on your trade, you wouldn't have encountered such huge loss. Over billions of dollars were liquidated in one day. In less than 24 hours, billions of dollars were liquidated. You know, I always emphasize on capital preservation. If you cannot preserve your capital, how are you going to be making profit from the market? Capital preservation is very, very essential in the market. If you don't preserve your capital, you will not have the money to trade. Sometimes when you run out of capital, trading capital, you will be like, how am I going to trade again? What am I going to do? Because you will not have money to trade. So at the end of the day, the main thing is that you have a capital to fall back to. Even if you lose money, of course, loss is part of the market. You must, as a trader, there are certain things that will happen in the market and you will lose. Sometimes your analysis may not favor you and you will lose. Sometimes the analysis may be very okay, very perfect, it followed the rules, everything is in order, but there is a manipulation or fundamentals that may affect your trade, and with that what will happen? You will lose money because there is a manipulation. All right, so whenever you are trading a coin or financial market, always have in mind that you are not the owner of the market. You are not in charge of the market. You are not even a market maker. You are not even a market maker. So why do you think that the market will always obey your analysis? Why do you think that the market will always obey your analysis? The market will not always obey your analysis. Even though you are a market maker or whatever you are, there are people that are also trading against you. That is one thing you should know. There are people that are also trading against you. So at the end of the day, if you don't manage your risk, if you don't apply risk management, you will lose money. You will lose money. All right? If you don't apply risk management, you will lose money. Somebody died in his Lamborghini as a result of Bitcoin crash on Friday. For the person to die inside his Lamborghini, it means that this person might have been making some good amount of money from the market, and the person have poured in a whole lot of money in the market, and the person got liquidated, and he couldn't bear it. That is why you don't have to put all your money on a trade. I always tell my students, in fact, one of my trading rules that is very secret is that we don't trade more than 2 pairs at a time. That is one of my trading rules, and we have a certain leverage that we cannot go above of. And then we also have our risk management strategies, whereby either you apply stop loss if you are trading a very high leverage, or where to apply your DCA if your leverage is not that high. All right, for some using a very high leverage to trade, your stop loss should always be there, because if there is no stop loss with high leverage, you are just playing with your money. Anything can happen. Anything can happen in the market. Anything can happen. Anything can go wrong. The market may go against you. The market can be manipulated even if you are good in your analysis. The market can be manipulated. A fundamental news can come up at any time. Any news can come up at any time about any particular market, and it will either go in your favor or against you. So these are the things you need to always have in mind. All right? These things you need to always have in mind. Don't just enter a trade because you don't want to miss out. Fear of missing out is one of the things that have led a lot of people into liquidation. Today my topic mostly for this live is what to expect this week and how to avoid liquidation. What to expect this week and how to avoid liquidation from the crypto market. All right, I can tell you that since I started trading crypto using my risk management strategies and no loss strategies, I have not been liquidated from the market. All right, yes, I've been liquidated before in the market because I wasn't following the rules. But from the time I started trading with my rules, with my own trading rules, I don't get liquidated. Because the worst thing that will happen is that I will lose some part of my money and I will still exit the market. So that's the worst thing that can happen to me. I may lose some part of my trading capital. I will exit the market, which means I still have something to fall back to. All right, I still have something to fall back to, because the only person that doesn't have something to fall back to is the person that use all his money to enter a trade, and that person eventually liquidated. All right, so at the end of the day, you realize that you are the one that is greedy. The market may not actually be that bad, but your greed actually led you to huge losses. Sometimes, of course, emotions are very, very, sometimes you need to learn how to manage your emotion. All right, you need to learn how to manage your emotion, because if you don't manage your emotion, the market will manage your own emotion for you, and by then it will no longer be what you think, it will now be what the market wants. So that is why I always tell people, don't allow the market to do what? To control you. Don't allow the market to control you. Trade like a bot. All right, trade like a bot. Don't trade like a human being. Trade like a bot. The difference between humans and bots is because humans have emotion. Humans have what we call trading psychology, but bots don't have. Bots don't have emotion. Bots don't have trading psychology. Bots just follow the prompts given to it. So if you have already made your decision that you want to exit a trade at certain amount of money, then follow it accordingly. And then if the trade is going against you and you have set your stop loss already, follow it, allow it to be like that. You know that adjustment of stop loss is a crime here, even though it is not punishable by law. All right, though it is not punishable by law, but adjustment of your stop loss is a crime, because you may keep adjusting your stop loss and adjust yourself to liquidation. You may be adjusting your stop loss until you adjust yourself to liquidation. So at the end of the day, you realize that adjustment of stop loss is not actually the best practice. All right, unless you've made up your mind that you want to apply dollar cost average on your trade. Even if you are applying dollar cost average, make sure that your liquidation point is not very close. Sometimes some people don't take note of the liquidation point. Your liquidation, looking at the chart, I believe you can see my chart. You can see what's happening here on Friday. All right, just in 4 hours time frame. I use, for those who are seeing my chart, I use mostly Bollinger Band and MA and sometimes RSI in my analysis. All right, so that's what I use mostly. So if the upper band, if you take a look at here, you can see that there is a middle band here, which was actually a kind of resistance, all right, in 4 hours time frame, which was operating as a resistance at the rate of between 123 to let's say when it got to the new all-time high of 125 and then 126. But in 4 hours time frame, you see that the candles were not exceeding that low, the middle band that much, apart from the upper wick that were just very small. And then at that point you started seeing that there is a drop down going on. The market kept the lower band started getting very weak when this lower band was broken at 119,005. And then when that lower band was breaking, there were some persons that entered trade then, thinking that a retracement may occur and maybe the market may hit another all-time high, or at least get to 124,000. That was actually where the problem started, because when little green candle appeared, it was looking like it is going to be bullish, but it didn't occur, because that is not actually a very good confirmation. All right, it was not actually a very good confirmation for you to enter, but some persons entered there thinking that it is going to be bullish. And then after that, you see that the market was just hovering around 121, between 121 to 120. After that 119, a very little breakdown from the Bollinger lower band, and then a very big drop happened at 118. All right, at that point a lot of persons have already been wiped out of the market. Even before the big drop, a lot of persons have hit their stop loss, and at that point there was already a panic. This is what happened here. At that point there was already a panic as people started selling off. All right, when people started selling, what happened? The market kept on dumping until there was a very massive dump from 118. There was a very massive dump. At this point, the market, there was a sharp drop in 4 hours time frame. This you can see that the candle was just one from 116,000. The candle was just one, and the drop was very sharp from that 116 to 102, and a lot of persons were liquidated. Billions of dollars gone. Billions of dollars were liquidated. All right, so but for those who apply stop loss, of course, for those who did not apply stop loss, thinking that all right, that the market as at now the market is just consolidating between 112 to currently let's say 111. All right, so what do we expect this week? Is there going to be all right, so sorry, I had a network issue. All right, so from what I can see from here, what am I expecting from this market this week? I'm not expecting a massive major retracement, but I'm expecting a retracement this week. All right, I'm expecting a retracement this week to at least, let me say 118. all right, this is not a financial advice, and any 118 this week. So if you are trading this week, trade carefully, and if that 118 didn't occur, maybe the market didn't break out the 118 resistance zone, and this downtrend has to continue, then I'm seeing 100,000. all right, but I don't think that will happen this week. So what I'm expecting this week is an uptrend to at least 118,000. So if you are here and you are on any trade, all I can advise you is to do what? Manage your risk. Manage your risk. Don't put the money you cannot afford to lose in the market. Don't put the money you cannot afford to lose in the market. All right? Don't put the money you cannot afford to lose in the market. That is my advice. You can see that the prediction I gave this morning is already playing out. It is not just a prediction, it is my own personal analysis. All right, it is my own personal analysis. I stated it. That is why I always tell people to read. Don't just be interested in the profit without understanding the structure. All right, from what I'm seeing here, there is already a bullish momentum, even though it is not that strong, but there is already a bullish momentum in the market. All right, so, and I believe that the market is going to be bullish this week because some persons may gradually come into the market, add some money to the liquidity, and that may bring an uptrend. All right, so that is my expectation, and that is it. So what is my advice? I always tell people, always apply your break even, set your stop loss above your entry whenever you are in good profit, and don't trade more than you can afford to lose, more than you can't afford to lose, and always apply your risk management strategies, obey your own trading rules. If you don't have your own trading rules, learn my trading rules by going through my crypto trading course and learn my trading rules. All right, that is my advice to anybody that wants to trade this week. If you don't follow this advice, you may cry a second time. And even if you want to enter a short position or a sell position, make sure that you always apply your risk management. All right, thank you so much. If you have any question, you can drop it in the chat box and I will respond to you. So currently Bitcoin is at 112,000 in, okay, so in 15 minutes time frame, it looks like the 112 is not that strong, but in 1 hour time frame the market is still, and in 4 hours time frame the market is still giving us a positive momentum. All right, which may also lead to an uptrend in coming days. So let's watch and see how it performs. Thank you. Make sure you join my WhatsApp and Telegram group, and make sure you join my trading group for my trading signals. Bye.